What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with me, Chris Kane. Let's talk Dolphins. Before we get into it, can I just take a little victory lap? Because we be breaking news here on Dolphins Daily. Or we speculate, and then sometimes the speculation comes through. I said weeks ago, hey man, look out for Bobby Slowik going to the Dolphins. Him and McDaniel worked together with San Fran. There's a connection there. And nobody was talking about it. It just kind of went under the radar. I didn't say nothing. I let it rock. And guess what happened? Weeks later, you guessed it, just signed on. Former OC for the Houston Texans, Bobby Slowik, is now the passing game coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. Now, I don't exactly know what that job entails. I don't believe he'll be actually like drawing up plays. I guess he will consult with Coach McDaniel. This seems like, because we have a quarterback coach, we have an offensive coordinator, and then we have a passing game coordinator. So maybe he's working in conjunction with the quarterback coach to then consult with the coach. I don't know what's going to happen. But he's on his staff, and this is really, it's who you know, right? Because Bobby's been floating in the wind for a couple weeks. He interviewed for a couple jobs and didn't get him. And this might just be a McDaniel like, hey, you the homie? Come down to Miami. And what a job to come down to. What a job to come down to when you didn't have a job and you was out here in these streets looking around. You get a call and say, hey, do you want to come to the 305 and be a passing game coordinator on a team that already has two offensive minds? And you're like, yeah, I'll do that. I don't even know what to pay. It don't matter what to pay. It's going to be six figures. You're going to pay me six figures to be in Miami and have a three-headed job where I'm not getting all the responsibility? What an amazing opportunity. Now, Bobby Slowik, 2 years ago, again, we mentioned this, head coaching hot candidate. It was him, Ben Johnson. And then both came back to their teams, Ben Johnson with Detroit. And Houston went to just this year. A lot of that was offensive line, awful injuries to wide receivers, injuries to the O-line. Defense is still pretty solid. But the team looked worse, and then people thought maybe CJ took a step back. I don't believe he did. And so Bobby's stock went down. What I believe is that he will be Miami's passing game coordinator this year. Miami's passing game will be good because why wouldn't it be? Next year he'll be offensive coordinator somewhere else, and the following year he'll probably be a head coach. I'm saying it now because I didn't get credit for the last one. I'm getting my credit this time. I'm saying in 3 years, Bobby Slowik will be someone's head coach. That's my prediction. But in the meantime, welcome aboard. We're happy to have offensive minds like maybe him and Tua and the passing game coach can like get on the same page and, Bevel. I'm sorry, I was like Daryl. They can all get on the same page and because the passing game last year was okay, but it wasn't as good as it should be. And so maybe if we get all these heads in the same room, we can start throwing what we used to, and maybe pick up another receiver. Foreshadowing, and we'll see what we do. But I'm looking forward to it. Welcome aboard. I just want some credit. That's it. I don't need no money. A sub will do. Yeah, so stupid. So we've been speculating about Terron Armstead for basically the duration of this channel because, one, he's super important. Left tackle to a left-handed quarterback is a big deal. But more than that, he's a big contract hit, right? So he's a leader on the team. He's good at his job. But he also is expensive. And there's been rumors of him retiring. There's been whispers, maybe some reports floated out there to try to push things along sometimes. You never know. Like sometimes I believe anytime a report is put out, it's put out with intention. It isn't just reporting news when it's not necessarily news, right? So when you hear so-and-so shopping a receiver, I think sometimes that's, let's see if there's bait. If someone calls us, hey, I heard you were shopping a receiver. Oh, who told you that? And then you try to trade somebody, right? So there was whispers that Terron wanted to retire. I don't know if there's like a contract situation because he's under contract. So he wouldn't get more money unless the Dolphins extend him, but I don't believe he's really looking to be extended. I think he actually was looking to retire. I mean, he's in his 30s. He's been injured a lot. He's made some money, made some Pro Bowls. I would understand, honestly, if he wanted to walk away. But he was fairly healthy last year. So there's that weird thing of maybe I have more tread on the tires. Because if you got injured all year, it's very easy to say, bro, I'm out. My body hurts. I hate rehab. Another surgery. I'm a big man. Knees, hips, back. I get it. You made your money. You got a family. Be out. But if you play a full season, you feel pretty good. Off season you don't have to get a surgery. Off season you can actually get stronger. This is what a lot of people don't realize who didn't play football is that the off season people are like, oh, cool, you get a break for 6 months. But a lot of people get surgery in the off season, and so they're basically, let's say they're at this level when the season ended. You get surgery, you go down, and then you have to work your way up for the rest of the off season to try to get back to where you were. You typically don't get better for the following season, right? Especially when you have multiple surgeries, like cleanups and reconstructions, what have you. And so a lot of guys, you wonder, man, they're not really getting better year to year. It's like really injury prone people because they're basically just getting back to where they were before. You get better when you finish the season relatively healthy, and then you can maybe reshape your body. We remember when Tua put on like 20 pounds of some muscle. It was some muscle. It was some home cooking. All right. He put a little bit of both because he was like, I want to protect my body from impacts, right? But you can only do that when you know, decide to do that. You're not worried about recovering a knee or a hip. You're just putting on weight. And then in the offseason, he lost weight again. But when you're injured, you don't get to rehab. You don't get to get stronger. So Terron is pretty healthy right now. So maybe this offseason he feels like, oh, I feel good in my 30s, offseason, no injuries. Maybe it's not time to hang it up just yet. I still got some tread on the tires. So he's meet with the team, and they're going to figure out what are we doing going forward because the draft's around the corner, and if he decides to leave, then that's another big piece on the O-line. We've been talking about guards this whole time because center is solid, tackles are good, guards are not so good, with all respect. But if he leaves as well, it's like getting a tackle is a bigger deal than getting a guard because the best rushers typically come off the edges, right? You need your tackles to be good. We watched the Eagles game on Sunday. I keep saying that. And we saw when your tackles can't do their job, there's no offense. The whole offense imploded. It's just guys coming off the corner, old linemen just getting walked back, your quarterback just like, oh, God, again? And like, it's a bad situation. So if Armstead decides he wants to retire, that puts Miami in a whole different situation because now we have to spend free agency money on this. We might have to tag a guard just to keep one on the roster, then use draft capital on a tackle. It changes everything. So we won't know until they meet and he decides what he wants to do. We're hoping he stays because it makes him exponentially better and it makes our next season plans much more concise. So we'll see. Speaking of the draft, we're going to look at, I like these like spotlights because we don't know who the Dolphins are going to draft. So we have to like spotlight certain players. I've talked about Scatterboo and I've talked about Banks from Texas and, Jalen Milroe and Dari. I've talked about a lot of people. But we're going to get to a more skill position, right? So Savion Williams, if you watch college football, he played at TCU. He's one of those guys that's like a Swiss Army knife hybrid kind of guy. And you guys know if you watch the channel, I believe the league is going more towards hybrid players than like super specialized players. We want a person like a linebacker that can rush and play in coverage. We want DBs that can float at safety and play cornerback. You see like Cooper DeJean was a cornerback in college. But now he plays nickel corner, sometimes, free safety. Like he's in a lot of positions, and that allows him to guard tight ends and running backs and receivers, and it makes him a more versatile piece on defense. I think that's happening on offense as well. That's why I think Travis Hunter is such an interesting player because he can do a bunch of different things. So Savion Williams is a 6'5", 220, 225 receiver. Miami has no big receivers. That would be phenomenal to have him on the team. The problem is he's not the best at catching. He had a lot of drops last year. I think a drops is a concentration thing because you have to look the ball in. So if you're dropping the ball, I'm thinking you're worried about getting tackled. That's something you can hone in on. We've had receivers who have kind of the drops and then they kind of get over it. But he's also played quarterback at various points, like in wildcat formations. He's returned kicks as well. He seems like you put me somewhere, I'll make a play, right? And I like that for Miami's offense because if he's like the third receiver, which he's going to be, right, if we draft him, then at various points, he can line up in the backfield as like the running back, take the direct snap, and then do stuff. Or, he can run it. He can throw it from that position. But also at receiver, having a big receiver for an undersized quarterback, because Tua's listed at 6'1". I think he's realistically 5'11" and some change. So when Tua's balls, like, that's crazy, go downfield, they typically like float, which is why when he throws picks, they're typically overthrown across the middle because we have short receivers, and because Tua is shorter, the ball has to like come in that trajectory, right? When you have a bigger receiver, you can just lay it out. Let the big receiver go up and get it. This is why I think Johnny Smith is so good this year because having a big tight end in the middle of the field is a big deal for a shorter quarterback. It's why Gesicki was solid at stints. We didn't throw him the ball enough, but I think having a big receiver for Tua would be great, especially on the outside. He's got enough speed, enough physicality, and again, we can move him around. Tyreek can go in motion. He can take. There's a lot you can do with a receiver like that. He's probably a second or third round prospect, so he won't be our first round pick because we almost certainly need to go O-line or safety there. But if he's around in the second round, he'll probably be like wide receiver 6-ish, 6-7. Maybe something to look at. We'll see. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We really appreciate y'all tuning in. The subs, the retweets, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, tell your families, tell your Dolphin fans out there. And just give me a little bit of credit. That's all I want. Just a couple credit. When I report something and then you see it on ESPN a few days later, be like, I feel like I heard that before. This guy. Appreciate your time. We'll see you next time. Peace.